Hey, so I decided that I could send you some just code, or I could send you some code and make a quick video. So I'm going to do that. So this is just going to be getting input from the user and then printing that input into a file. So this could be like from a main menu or typing in the subject ID number, something like that. So we're just going to go through the whole thing and it should be pretty lightning quick. So here's my new scene. Um, we're going to start over here. It's completely empty. We can check UI and we'll just go to input field text mesh pro. And you'll have this pop up that comes up hopefully. And just import that and import the examples and extras. If you want to see like tutorials and stuff like that. If that doesn't show up, it will live under project settings, text mesh pro, or package manager, and find text mesh pro in here and import it that way. So the import will be right down here in the bottom right. Awesome. So we got that out of the way. Here's our input field. It also automatically puts in this event system. This allows you to be able to click on objects in your environment. So if this was like a windowed application, you're able to click on it and type on it. So let's go ahead and also add a button. We'll raise that button up. And these can be world space, which I believe this screen space, overlay, screen space cameras, and then world space. That's just how it's going to interpret where you want what these numbers will end up looking like and where it'll be relative to the camera. So where they're set right now is overlay, which is that it'll be like a UI in a video game. It's going to overlay on top of the camera no matter what until you turn it off. So let's start with printing something. So what I like to do is make an empty object, and this can be our scripts or whatever sort of empty object that can just live wherever it wants. All it does is hold scripts that just don't have a really better place to be, so we have to search for them. A new script called print things. Open this guy up. And the two things we want to add in the usings, or to import files, they're called using system.io and using TM Pro, so text mesh pro, and then the system.io is system input output, so we can print files. So great. Next thing we want to do is get the application path, or where we want to print the file in our files, our file explorer. So you can type this in manually, but what I've learned to do recently is to do it dynamically based on where the actual application is. So get our application path variable, and that equals application dot data path. what that really means is that it's going to print out over here in the assets folder. Super, super great, super handy because you don't have to go through here and find it and then type in your whole string of whatever every time you want to do something. It's just it's much more forgiving in that sense. We're also going to make a new method that is a public void, and we'll just call it print info. And what this is going to do, this is where we're going to print everything all at once. So we are going to make a thing called a stream writer, which is, if you coded in Java, it's like a scanner. There's also other words for it, but really it's just what they call the input output. Ooh, uh-oh. It's what they call the input output. Object, I suppose, class. So stream writer equals new stream writer. Inside that, we're going to want application path, and this just holds a list of, it's going to hold this, but not the name of the actual file, so we need to add that. So to do that, we're going to concatenate a / and then type in my test.txt, and then we're going to do comma true. What this overload is, it allows you to either append to a file or always overwrite the file. I like appending just because I don't like losing stuff, and you can deal with it later if you end up messing something up. But when you delete something, that's just usually can lead to like worse things. And then after we get done writing something, we want to close the writer. So what happens in between here is where we're going to print our stuff. So what we're going to print, we are going to print what's inside this text input field. So to do that, we're going to need a new variable. So do public game object input field. And we're also going to take this input field and start writing with it. So writer dot writeLine or game object dot get component angle brackets text mesh pro GUI parentheses dot text, and we also need to do a dot trim on it because these input fields have like a weird closing character that Microsoft Excel does not like. And so we're just going to go in and type in like the actual character representation, which is 8203, and trim specifically that weird character from the file so it doesn't show up. It's a weird, like, I don't even know how it represents it. It represents it as a space inside of a text document, but inside of Excel, it's a weird, like, non-readable number. So we're just going to get rid of it completely. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let's save that. And now we have Waiting for this to update. Awesome. So here's our print things, and we have an input field here. So what we want to do is dig down on our input field to the text. And we're going to drag the text over to here, and that's the game object we're looking for. Is that's going to hold this. This right here is going to be what updates whenever you type into it. Now we want to print based on our button press, so we're going to go to this button, and it's right here on click. We're going to add, and then we're going to drag our script objects here, and it's going to ask us for a function, and we're going to look at our script. This is print things, and then go down to print info. Awesome. So, and you can edit the text on the button and also edit the text in the input field, the placeholder text to like type here. All right, enough of that. Let's just run it. So here we are. So this is a test. I guess that's it. So this is a test, and I'll click on print info, and then we end. And I can show an explorer, and here's my path to where it is, but we're gonna go to assets, and there's my test. This is a test. To make this a CSV file, super easy. We're going to change this to CSV instead of .text. And what we want to do, you can format it however you want, or you want to format it into comma separated values usually. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to type out my commas. Print info. Okay. Oh, here you go. They showed up here. So let's open Explorer. And we can see how this opens up in an Excel file, is delimited with commas. And yep, okay, great. And here's our file. Type out commas. I'm going to send you over a few examples that I have of me using this in a real world scenario. So feel free to look them over. Don't dig too deep into what's going on. Just like kind of just look at the syntax. Like, oh, he literally just put a typed out a comma in like in this right here. Like you'll just obviously concatenate and a comma, and that's as easy as it gets. So I'll send that over to you now, and along with this, good luck.